There might be people who don't come in and need it. Am I sharing my screen with you guys? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay. Is everybody there? Can we start? Are you on the article? So it says America the Dystopia, question mark. Are we all here? Yes, no, maybe so. Let me open it in my Google Doc. You're there, Waddell? Okay. And Waddell, just paste your answer in there.
Gotcha.
Shanice, are you there? Okay, so it should say America the Dystopia with a question mark, right? Because this article is going to try to talk about our country as a dystopian, as possibly a dystopian nation. And can someone remind us what are the characteristics of a dystopian society? What do we look for when we read about dystopias or talk about them? What kind of qualities do they have? I'll type some. There's like government control, right? Government control that is very intense, or sometimes we would say like fascist, or like complete government control. There's usually a lot of laws, new laws, that are very strict. Waddell said power struggle, awesome, between the people and the government, and then the people and themselves. Everything is in disorder, yes. There is usually, in a dystopia, there is usually a big event that has happened. So whether it's, we were talking last class about like this pandemic being a catalyst for a dystopia, right? Or like sometimes dystopian society happens after a nuclear event or a big, what do they call that? Famine, like a hunger famine or something. So usually happens after a big life-changing event. And then in a story, there's usually like a hero, right? Who kind of knows that this society is messed up. Is messed up and wants to change it. And remember, if you forget what dystopia, like what we're talking about with that word, underneath checkpoint 1 for resources for everyone, if you go to slides for entry event, it will remind us, right? Like what that genre is. And it's also meant to serve as a warning, right? If we continue on this path, our society is going to be really messed up. Don't continue on that path. So this article was written in US Today, was written in 2016. So 2016 was right when Trump was right before Trump got elected. So May. And in November of that year, Trump was elected. Is anybody, by the way, just before we start, how many people are voting in this election if you're 18 or over? Waddell, I know you're 18 or over. Are you going to vote? Are you registered to vote?
No, I'd like staying in a house.
Well, you can vote from mail-in. Did you know that you can mail in your ballot? If you aren't voting, please make sure that you tell people in your family, just remind them
Yeah.
that they could go to the polls or they can mail in their ballot. And you could go to the website and register. Um, remember that the polls, if you do go in person, there's going to be huge lines. Why might there be like huge lines?
Mm.
Why do you think there's going to be big lines to vote this year?
People don't like Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot of pushback against Trump. And also with the virus, they're having they're not letting a bunch of people inside. So it's like one by one by one, right? So you're going to have to wait in line for a lot longer. But I think it's worth it, to be honest.
Mm.
So this article was arguing, I know, Waddell, you read some of it. It's very short. So what we're going to do is let's read it. And do you remember, Waddell, what they were talking about?
Not really.
All right, so let's read it over because I'm also recording this, so I'll upload it on the YouTube too. Your responsibility on Summit is every time we stop to write a comment. And Shanice, are you by your Chromebook? Are you ready to write comments or no? Shanice, hello. Okay, well, it's English 4, perfect. And every time we're gonna stop and kind of talk about something, you guys can highlight. You could highlight the actual thing, then go to the top of your Summit, and it should say, oops, either insert or comment. And you're gonna insert a comment. I think it says comment. And then you type in that comment part. And make sure you press save or it won't save. Because that's part of the checkpoint grade. So we're going to look at this article as questioning if America is a dystopian society. All right, so starting here, big government and big media are dominating American society and suffocating free speech. Who will rise up? My question is, what is free speech? What does that mean? Who knows what free speech means? So free speech is in the Constitution, and it means that people have the right to say what they want about their beliefs. Now, in the chat, can you tell me if you think there should be limits on free speech, or can you think anybody should be able to say whatever they want? In our country, should any person be able to say and do whatever they want? You could say it through voice or in the chat box. All right, nobody's responding yet. So I'm guessing you just are so taken aback by that question. You cannot even respond. Just think about that, about like who is, we have on one side, we have like these white supremacists, right, who feel like they can say whatever they want. On the other side, we have people fighting for Black liberation that say whatever they want, right? And do both, like, it's just this question, like, are ethics involved? I mean, I know my answer. I think that some people should not be able to speak their opinion, but all right. And remember, this was written before Trump was elected. So the president gets elected in November. This was written in May. Our world looks and feels increasingly like the chapters that might precede a work of futuristic dystopian fiction. And I'm not just talking about the jaw-dropping nature of our presidential election. Consider the growth of jihadism, environmental global warming, or economic dysfunction. There are many, many signs that capital H historic cultural changes are not just happening, they're gaining momentum. The cultural plates of the US are moving as we speak. So look at what this author mentioned in 2016. Global warming, I'm just highlighting them. Economic dysfunction, right? Or like depression, like financial depression. And global jihadism, which we're not going to talk about, but those two things, are we facing problems with that now in 2020? This was 4 years ago. We are facing problems with global warming and the economy right now. So things have not changed. Perhaps they've gotten even worse. She says, so I wonder, are we living through a prequel? And can what comes next possibly be good? A prelude to a golden age? Or should I be stockpiling ammunition, booze, and silver? Think about it. Most dystopian novels or movies begin with the main character and their people living in some kind of totalitarian regime, where a past social collapse or revolution resulted in the ruling class living in a glittering safe city and the rest of us living in oppressed poverty. So do we think that this is happening right now, this situation? I'm going to insert a comment. The ruling class living in a glittering safe city and the rest of us living in oppressed poverty. Is this happening now? Yes or no? Or like in the middle? Are politicians living, are they losing money? What do we think? Are you peeps there, or are you asleep? All right, if I have to carry this class on my back, here we go. Hi, Ranier.
Hey.
So Ranier, we are on checkpoint 2 on English 4. So find that on your summit. And we're reading this article that questions if America is a dystopia or not. And you could join along with us and you make comments. So make your annotations whenever we're, having discussion questions. So just open that on your summit. I think we can see mirrors of this with politicians making more money and the poverty and unemployment rate going up. So some people are really like in their tower, right? And then like some people aren't. All right, so sorry. In these worlds, so she's comparing them to all different dystopian novels, right? Brave New World, Metropolis, movies like Hunger Games or Divergent. There are no state or local government. There are no legislative bodies. There is just a national or even a global government run by a charismatic leader who relies on martial law and control of national resources to keep things orderly when unpopular decisions are made. Do we see this today? Is this how Trump's government works? What do we think? A charismatic leader who relies on martial law. Remember, martial law is using weapons or force to keep people under control. And control of natural resources to keep things orderly. What do we think? Do we see this today? And where? Or do we not see it? Hello. Where is everybody?
Hello.
Well, the things that, I mean, I'll fill some of it in. I'm thinking about when Trump was sending in like tanks and different government officials to control the protests, right? So like controlling protests by force. Some places, when we talk about natural resources, some places still don't even have clean water, right? Keeping certain areas without clean water and food. How many of you live in like a food desert, you think? We call them food deserts when the only place where you can get food is like a Poppy store or, hi Anna, good afternoon, or like a pizza place that there's no fresh food. I think you have to be within like 2 to 3 miles of fresh food to be considered a food desert. Ayana, we're on checkpoint 2 on English 4. All right, remember, part of your grade for checkpoint 2 are these comments. All right, so then she goes on to say, in the worlds of dystopian science fiction, there are no small businesses, just corporations that are run by the big government. Wow, this is like, I can really see this today. I'm going to put a comment here. So Amazon, right? Amazon is a huge corporation. People are arguing that Amazon is putting small businesses out of business. Like especially bookstores, because people order their books from Amazon. I actually want to show you something really quick. I am screen sharing, okay. National Bookstore Sell Independent Bookstore Day. I saw this was happening yesterday. That talks about corporations. Here, this thing. So yesterday, all of these bookstores all over the world, little bookstores, right? Like independent ones, decorated the outside of their bookstore like this. It was called Boxed Out and Shop Indie or Independent. It says, our Wi-Fi is free. Please don't use it to make a $1.6 trillion company even richer. Don't box out bookstores event. Amazon, please leave the dystopia to Orwell. Anyone else feel weird about a $1.6 trillion company making them even richer? Now, this was all over the world. This one was in St. Louis. This one was there were a few in New York. And then there was a few in Philly too. Where was it? Boxed out, #box. Why would businesses decorate their store like this? Oh, here's another one. The Don't Box Out Bookstores event. Buy from people who want to sell books, not colonize the moon. This happened yesterday. It's called the Boxed Out campaign. And it's all about shopping from independent bookstores. So that, who don't they want to make popular? Who do they think is making too much money? How many of you shop on Amazon? Does anybody shop on Amazon?
My dad do.
What does he order from there? Like, does he orders everything or just like certain things? Food, yeah, because they're with Whole Foods, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have that thing with Whole Foods where they made a partnership. And now Whole Foods, like, they've started to lower their prices because more people are buying on Amazon. But the more that people buy from Amazon, the less they buy from these stores that you see on the street. So these stores lose money. So going back to the article, this woman predicted that in these dystopian novels, right, sci-fi novels, small businesses, they're kind of extinct. We just have Amazon and, you know, things that the government agrees with. So we could see this happening, right? We can see this happening with the closing of small businesses. Does anybody have any businesses in their neighborhood that have closed down since the quarantine?
Well, I only know a seafood store that's closed down.
Okay, yeah, because people are probably ordering from bigger Instacart too, right? You know how you could order like your groceries on your phone? So they might not be getting their seafood from that little store. So this is happening like now, we could see this. She also says technology is so advanced, it's almost magical. Information comes from centralized sources, and the oppressed thirst and fight for basic rights, such as freedom of speech, expression, and association. When did we see this happen recently? That more oppressed people were fighting for their rights. When in recent news have we seen that? Within the past maybe 2 months. Anybody? I'm looking for like the definitely saw it in the BLM protests, right? All the school protests, right, for going back to school when teachers were out there kind of like fighting. And you guys all heard the news, right, about us being online until January. Well, if you didn't, they announced yesterday that high school will be online school until at least mid-January. So we're not going back to the building until at least January. K through second will start going back November 30th. And then 3 through 8 will go back the beginning of January. Yeah, Me Too movement counts, Waddell. All right, so today, right now, the US government branches are broken. We still have a legislator or a ruling body, right? But extreme partisanship and a charismatic president have rendered it paralyzed. A court of elites break the big stalemates, and the rebels beg them to keep the executive branch in check. Executive branch is where the president is. Information sources have become increasingly centralized and nationalized thanks to cable and the internet. Facebook has centralized power to influence the information we consume almost on a daily basis. We learned this week that it can nudge the political direction of the country by limiting access to information if the wrong people are tending the algorithms. So that's a big concept. I try to talk to my parents about this concept all the time. How many of you watch like the local news? Like you turn on News 12 or like, what is it, Fox at like 5 p.m., right? Does anybody watch the local news? Well, CNN and then Waddell, the right side would say that the left would say that Fox News has more fake news, right? So some people said CNN does, but most of these news stations have a bias. We call it a bias. It means that they can sway news stories to look how they want to look. Now, how many people have seen, I've always wondered, why does the local news always have, all I hear about is like shootings, robberies, like fires, right? Whenever you turn on the local news, it's always like the most weird things that happen, like the most dangerous things. And if you think about it, people who only watch that news channel, that's the only thing they gather about the world, right? So for example, my dad was saying about the protests, right? He was like, well, they're just dangerous. The protests are really dangerous. That's all they are. And I was like, well, what made you say that? And he's like, well, I look at the news at night and I just see people getting hurt. And I was like, well, have you been to a protest? Like, that's not, I don't really see that. But if you watch the news channels, they can choose to show whatever they want. And it might be different from reality. And that, I don't know, that to me is always kind of scary. Waddell says they want us to be a frog in a well to live fearfully. Live in fear, maybe. Yeah. I mean, news channels, and you could write this, news channels, many of them want us to live in fear or always worrying about what's going to happen, right? Because the world is so dangerous, which the world can be dangerous. But there's also other things in the world. There's like some positive things. There's some people doing projects every day in small communities, right? That we don't see as much on the news. And forget about like Twitter and Facebook, right? People are posting all types of articles. So this word vigilant, right? To always be watching what's going on. News channels can control their stories. I always think about that when I think about the news. I'm like, is this true? Is this not true? Who's running this station, right? All right. Meanwhile, small local news outlets are withering away and closing their doors. They belong to an endangered species list next to small businesses and small community banks. So basically saying like those local news channels are closing. Um, Business dynamism, a longstanding strength of American economy that means more businesses open each year than close, has suffocated because of high taxes, excessive regulations, etc. So this concept of business dynamism, do you think that more businesses are opening or closing right now? Does anybody know businesses that are like opening? Like new businesses?
Yeah.
Which new business?
Oh, that's a business that my friend opening up.
Oh, cool. Is it like a shop or independent?
It's like she's selling stuff from her house, but then she have like pop-up shops like at a park or something.
That's awesome. What types of things is she selling?
She's selling like headbands, purses, lip gloss. She's selling a lot of stuff,
I
like
love that.
accessories.
Okay, so then Ranier makes a good point. So maybe people doing more, what would we call that? Like independent business?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're starting their own businesses from the house or from like online. So businesses online or in the house are rising. People selling accessories, right? Maybe even clothes. I see people on Etsy, right? They're doing masks, like they sell their own masks. But I mean like storefronts, we'll call them storefronts, like owning an actual store. I think that I'm seeing less of those businesses opening because you can't go in the business. Like I follow a lot of people on Instagram that owned stores. And every day I see, oh yeah, we're going to close our storefront, but we're still open online because they lose money. They have to pay rent. And a lot of the business just isn't there right now. I like what you said, Ronnie, though, that some people's businesses are thriving. That's true, Waddell. We're not all privileged enough to make money online to invest in the business. True. I agree with you. But if you have like a lot of passion and drive, sometimes you really can get your business off the ground from like Instagram. Does anybody have an Instagram business in here? Or like a business you promote through Instagram?
Me, I had one, but I stopped because it was getting hard. Like
What were you doing?
I made a clothing line for these hoodies I had, and then it started getting hard, so I just gave up and stopped.
What
But
part was hard? Like what part did you stop at?
I needed help, like
With making the hoodies or with selling them?
well, I had a name, right? Then I didn't like it, so I wanted to change it. Then I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a name, so that's why everybody said keep the name that you got, and then I kept it. But then the part with ordering all the hoodies, like I didn't know how people did it. Like, did you order a lot of hoodies with different sizes and then go get it made or something like that? Something like that. That part was irritating me.
Did you
And
have anybody that you could ask who's done it before?
yeah, now I do.
Oh, so maybe you'll go back and do it now that you have
Yeah,
advice.
she keep telling me to do it because it was nice, and the designs that I had was nice.
That sounds amazing, Renier. Let us know when you could also put a picture of the design in the chat if you want to, but I would love to see what the design was.
All right.
What was it called? What was the business called?
It was. I forgot. I gotta go look.
Okay.
It was Trench something.
Trench. Okay. Okay, so we have like another minute left. We started kind of late because people came in a little late. So we got mostly done with the article. And let's just look at the questions. That's what's due to me by tomorrow. Question 1, what current issues in our world seem similar to the issues in the article? We talked about this. Cite one quote from the article. Number 2, what is the author's main argument about America and how do you know? And number 3, is America a dystopian place right now? What parts of our society match the definition of dystopia? Those are the 3 questions that you have to answer for this checkpoint. Make sure that they are, sorry, I need to put this 3 to 5 sentences each. And on Monday, Monday, because I see you Monday. Monday, we will have a discussion about the answers. And then I will introduce a new task to you guys. Okay.
All right, so what we gotta do when we get off this?
So Ranier, do you see how at the bottom there are questions
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom of this article? So you just have to answer those questions based on the article.
Can you send that to me or I got it on something?
You have it. I'm going to show everybody where it is. It's under year. Go to year, English 4, dystopian worlds. Checkpoint 2, it says dystopian article. Click this. And if you, so it has the vocab up here. Here is the article that we were reading. And then at the bottom, Ranier, here are the questions.
Okay.
You see that on yours?
Yeah, I'm about to start it.
And that goes for Ayana and Shanice and Waddell. I will be checking, you have until tomorrow morning to get this in. And then the grades go out tomorrow. If you have any questions about the article or about the questions, just email me, come to Afternoon Lab, I'll be here.
All right, thank you.
All right, no problem. Good job today, everybody. Thank you for your participation, and I will see you on
Can
Monday.
you put my name down saying I was here?
Yes. I'm going to take attendance right now, but yes. Wait, how do I end this?